That is 4 straight victories for your Detroit Tigers. We're going to talk about some injury updates, which led to some roster moves, as well as just the current state of the roster. We'll talk about that and more all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Tuesday, July 9th, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down and end. The sports aren't sportsing like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Welcome in, welcome all, everybody. Happy Tuesday to all. Got the right show graphic sheet up here for those watching on YouTube after the shenanigans that we pulled yesterday. We're back. We're better than ever. Maybe we'll see how the show goes. But the Detroit Tigers may actually be better than they have been in a while. Probably not, but 4 straight victories for your Detroit Tigers after a 1-0 win over the Cleveland Guardians on Monday. That kicks off a 4-game series that they will be playing against Cleveland this week. They win this game at home, obviously. Again, 1-0. 4 straight wins, 43 and 48. I almost said 84. That would not be a very good baseball team. 43 and 48 on the season. This was a stressful ball game, to be honest. I'll tell you what, I'm not sure I've wanted to win a ball game as much as I found myself wanting to win this one. And like I yell at the TV and get animated and upset and whatnot for pretty much every game. But just the man, maybe it's because they're coming off of 3 wins. Maybe it's just because it's Cleveland. I just really wanted to see the Tigers get a win here, and they did, which was very, very nice. That's a nice change of pace from what we were used to for a majority of June. But yeah, man, 4 straight wins. We will gladly take that, and hopefully they can keep the ball rolling. This was not some perfect ball game. This was not a 9-0. Offense was great, pitching was great, bullpen was great. Everything was just sunshine and rainbows. This was a grinded out victory where it was 0-0 going into the bottom of the 8th. And look, they found a way to win, no matter how ridiculous the runs scored that the Tigers did score was. And it was that. It was rather ridiculous. At the end of the day, a win is a win, and the pitching deserves a ton of credit. And that's where we'll start here with what went right. Keider Montero was absolutely remarkable in this ball game. 6 1/3, 3 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. His stuff is fantastic. And we've been talking about that since he was in the minors, right? Like that's not a new thing whatsoever for anybody really that's seen him. It's pretty clear really early on that the stuff he has is nasty. He's got a fastball that gets up into 95, 96 territory. The fact that he throws a curveball and a slider makes me so happy. Like that's just so awesome. And then the changeup, obviously, to go along with that. It's really good stuff. The issue in his first couple of outings this year, at the major league level that is, was that he had next to no command. And it really at times just seemed like he didn't know where the ball was going, didn't have very much confidence, kind of was trying to nibble. And that's just always a dangerous game when you don't have the, pinpoint command, right? Not everybody is Greg Maddux, believe it or not. So that was kind of a slippery slope, and he got rocked. And it was kind of, it's either over the heart of the plate or way out of the zone was kind of what he looked like in his first couple of outings. The last 2 have been a really, really big change of pace. And this outing, Benetti said, this felt like a you belong type of outing. And I really don't disagree with that. And we'll see how the rest of the season plays out for him and whatnot. But that stuff has always been major league caliber and has always been so remarkably good. And in this outing, he was pitching with a confidence and swagger about him that we have not seen at the major league level, certainly. He and the ball was just around the zone constantly. Was it pinpoint? Absolutely not, right? There was quite a few mistake pitches thrown in there, right? Fastballs right over the heart of the plate that the hitters either took or fouled off. There were some breaking balls over the heart of the plate, but he was around the zone the entire game. Like genuinely the entire game. There was only 2, maybe 3 pitches in the whole outing that I can remember that were like completely uncompetitive pitches. And that is a great step. That is a fantastic step. And we have seen success stories within the organization since Feder has taken the helm as pitching coach with profiles that are similar to this, right? Not necessarily like fastball, changeup, curveball, slider. I don't mean that literal, but in the sense of really good stuff, need to work on command, need to work on pitch selection and whatnot. I mean, Reese Olson is a pretty solid example of that, right? Not that Reese Olson had like terrible command ever, but had really good stuff and was developed correctly, right? Tarek Skubal, obviously a very obvious one. You can kind of go down the list. A lot of these guys have had really good stuff, and then the pitching coaches get their hands on them and they take big strides. And I'm not saying it's one for one. We've seen players not thrive either, right? Alex Lang has the best stuff I've maybe ever seen out of a Tigers reliever, but he can't throw a strike, right? Like it's not foolproof, right? Like you can't make every single person that touches a baseball just a really, really good pitcher. It obviously comes down to the player more than anything else. And so with that, I want to give Keider Montero just a ton of credit. He was absolutely on top of the world in this ballgame. And I think that there is a legitimate argument for him to stay in this rotation really going forward, like kind of just the rest of the year. When Mize comes back, you're going to have somewhat of a conversation about what to do with Montero and where he falls and whatnot. Look, it's one outing. Well, it's 2 outings. And I'm not saying that it's all going to be beautiful and he's going to have, like a 3 or sub-3 ERA or anything. He's probably going to get rocked a couple of times still and whatnot. He's not just going to look like this every single time out there, right? There's still a lot of development that needs to happen with Montero. But I'll tell you what, man, if you didn't see a glimpse of like what he could be in this outing, then you're just like never going to see it. Like that was a phenomenal outing. Phenomenal. I cannot say enough about how good he was. And that's really, really exciting. Okay, I think I've talked enough and hyped up Montero enough. For now, let's move on to the bullpen. Then we'll move on to what went wrong, which is a lot of talking about the offense, and then obviously stuff. We will do all of that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at FanDuel. Look, it's the summer, and I love sports. And this time of year, we get baseball, and that's beautiful. But the rest of the postseasons that are happening around the sports landscape are quieting down, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everybody every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will be back tomorrow recapping Game 2 against the Cleveland Guardians, as well as anything else surrounding the Detroit Tigers organization. Also, be sure to check out Locked On Sports Today, the free 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, or for free in the Amazon Fire TV Channels app. Okay, so talking about what went right in this ball game, we have talked a lot about Keider Montero. He was the star of this game, the MVP of the game, whatever you want to call it. Easily the biggest story. We're not bearing the lead here. I think I've said my piece with that conversation. Again, like really impressive fastball command and that curveball slider changeup three-headed monster there is something special. And the thing that excites me, and then I promise we will move on. The thing that excites me about his arsenal, and Pitching Ninja had a overlay that he does all the time. One of the reasons that that he got big, rightfully so. It's a really cool feature. He did an overlay with Montero and a curveball and a high fastball. And those two pitches look exactly the same. And then halfway to home plate, the curveball ends up at your kneecaps and the fastball is 96 and stays at the top of the zone. And the craziest part about that sequence is they can both be strikes, whether they're swung at or not, right? There's a lot of tunneling where it's like, oh, if you lay off it, though, it's a ball. That was one where you're getting, clipping the top of the zone with a fastball, or you're clipping the knees with that curveball, which isn't always what you want. Sometimes you want it at the ankles, right? But it's situational base. The fact that he can tunnel it and have them both be strikes without you swinging a bat, I think is remarkable. And then you throw in a slider in there, like I'm sitting breaking ball. Oh, it's the other breaking ball, right? Like I love his arsenal. I love his arsenal. And again, there's a long way to go. I'm not trying to make it sound like this dude's prime Justin Verlander or anything. Like there's a very, very long way to go. There's a lot of development I want to see out of him. I'm sure there'll be some lumps in the road and he'll take some licks still. But this was just a really, really encouraging outing. And I really do agree with Benetti that this was kind of like the, hey, I belong here, in proving to the front office and the fan base that he does. The bullpen was also really, really solid in this ballgame. Solid is probably an understatement. It was great. Obviously, the combined shutout for the Detroit Tigers. Tyler Holton goes 1 and 2 innings of perfect baseball, and then Shelby Miller gets the save. Few. My goodness, Shelby Miller. That was a good outing. That's one of the best outings Shelby Miller's had in a while. And one of the discourses I saw on social media, we'll talk about Holton in a second because I think he was great and he kind of adds to this conversation as well, was, like Shelby Miller in this situation, it wasn't going to be a lot of people's first option. And while I somewhat understand that, his ERA's 5.7, like I get it. But this is a conversation we've been having on this show for a while. Who else are you going to exactly? Foley has pitched twice in the last 3 days and wasn't good in either of them. So I don't think that was really ever on the table. Tyler Holton already pitched. And like the situation called for it, like he needed to, right? Multiple innings, good lefties due up, but also needs to be able to get righties out. I completely supported going to Holton there. I think it made sense where they were at in the lineup. Am I missing someone? Like, am I missing like this? Oh yeah, this was the obvious choice here. Who else are you going to? And again, that's not to say like, oh, you had to go to Shelby Miller specifically, right? You could have gone to Chafin there, I guess, if you wanted to, but that's, we know that that AJ was going to play the righty-lefty matchups if he was going to use a lefty. You also probably don't want to burn through Holton and Chafin on the same day for that reason. You obviously aren't going to go to any of the low-leverage guys there. Like, there just isn't a plethora of options, and that goes to the point, and this is what went right. I'm not trying to be negative here, but like this just goes to the point that we've been talking about on this show for a while is like your bullpen, you don't have anyone outside of maybe Tyler Holton, who we'll talk about in a second, that is like, guaranteed high leverage, who you're going to go to right now type of guy. And that's cause for concern. And especially when you compare to the bullpen of the last 2-3 years and how good it's been, it's really frustrating that now that department has taken such a step back, especially in the last couple of months. Tyler Holton, however, if we're getting back on theme of what went right, was absolutely stellar. I thought he was incredible. Didn't get any strikeouts, but induced a lot of weak contact and did exactly what they asked of him. Got out and ended up doing more than that too, right? Like got put in the game because he was asked to get out Josh Naylor, and he did. And then the next batter up is Fry, who, as they mentioned on the Bally broadcast, if you were watching on Bally and not F1, or FS1, F1, great race this past weekend. It was Fry, who's one of the best left-handed hitters in the entire game of baseball. He has been crushing lefties all year, got him to ground out to shortstop as well. So I can't say enough good things about Tyler Holton and just like the acquisition as a whole. He's been one of the better relievers for this team for now going on in his second season. And he might be one of the on the short list for guys that I do somewhat trust in high leverage, because this team is not exactly oozing with them. That all being said, Shelby Miller, I thought, looked fantastic in this ballgame. That's just been kind of the epitome of Shelby Miller. You never really know what you're going to get on an outing-to-outing basis. And then we'll end on Winfield Perez, because I want to say something nice about the offense in a win, even though I don't think they deserve it. Winfield Perez went 2 for 4. Okay, cool. So that's it. That's the end of what went right on the offense. Let's talk about what went wrong as a team. That would be the offense. Look, Gavin Williams is really good. That's an elite fastball. 98, 99 mile an hour fastball from a starter is nutty. Okay. And they worked the counts. They got him to exit the game early, which I can appreciate considering the fact that they literally could not hit him for anything. So I'm glad they at least worked, counts and gave tough at bats to be able to kick him from the ball game before the 7th or 8th inning. That being said, this was not a good offensive performance. And again, Gavin Williams, really good. Okay. Cleveland's bullpen, I think the best in baseball by several metrics, the best bullpen in the sport. So I'm not saying that the Tigers offense, we know what it is. I'm not saying that I expected them to go into this series and exactly put up a ton of production against the Cleveland's pitching factory that I give them credit for so often on this show. But this was still rough and just furthers the point that we talked about yesterday, which was this team still just can't hit velocity. Nobody can. And like Mark Canha got absolutely blown away all game. And I'm wondering how much longer we're going to keep him in the upper part of the lineup. Is this like in the second half will change this type of thing or what? I'm really confused on why we're like, I understand, I guess, that he's a tough AB and he's going to give you, work a count at worst. He's going to work a count, but like, brother, I'm pretty sure his OPS is sub 600 since like the middle of May. Like it's rough, and it's down to 661 on the season. So I do wonder what AJ's reasoning is for the continued we're going to keep putting Mark Canha 3rd or 4th in lineup over and over and over and over again. It's very frustrating to me. And in this ball game, he goes 0 for 3 with a walk, and technically the game-winning error, the game-winning ground out that was an error. Hilarious development. It didn't count as a hit. It shouldn't count as a hit, and under any circumstance. But I guess Mark Canha batting 3rd won the ball game. Obviously a joke, but I do wonder how much longer they're going to keep him there. And then Colt Keith, again, we talk about velocity a lot. That is a situation where, we talked about his approach a lot yesterday. And I think that really carried over into today's game. You saw them really kind of abuse him, honestly, with fastballs on the inside part of the plate, because he could not catch up to them for anything. So that's still something I'm waiting to see for Colt Keith's timing. And when he does, that's when you're really going to see the show start, but still waiting on that. Okay. I think that's pretty much everything. I mean, it was really just the offense was what went wrong. This was not a good offensive game, but the Tigers won. Not going to be too upset. It was kind of predictable. Really good fastball, really good bullpen. Tigers offense. Doesn't exactly take a rocket scientist to figure that out, that this was going to be somewhat, around what the result was going to be. But their only run was off of an error. This was should have been a 0-0 ball game heading into the bottom of the 9th inning. But alas, it wasn't, and we'll take 4 straight victories. Let's talk stuff. Okay, we'll do that right after this. Got to talk to you all today about our friends over at Prize Picks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can get in on all the daily action with your friends and become a part of the PrizePicks community today. You can turn $10 into a grand over at PrizePicks, 100 times your money with just 4 correct picks. You take a look at those stats: starting pitcher strikeouts, hitter fantasy points, right? Just hits, home runs, RBIs, anything you can think of. You can get in on the action there and win big money. So be sure to check it out today and download the app and then use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. The code is LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Also got to talk to y'all about our friends over at Tax Network USA. Here on Locked On Tigers, we pride ourselves in getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round, and you know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. So don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. I challenge anybody to say that 3 times fast. Well, with over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Locked On. And be sure to mention Locked On Tigers at checkout, and you'll receive a $250 discount on their services. All right, everybody, welcome back to your third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. Got a few things I want to talk about here in stuff, as we always do. I want to start with Riley Greene and just the unfortunate day he had. You know, you want to talk about baseball giveth and baseball taketh away. Just bad luck for Riley Greene all game. So first at bat, he smokes a fastball to left center field, 103.5 miles an hour off the bat, exit velocity, and a 650 expected batting average. So 65% chance of a hit. Second AB, 105.2 miles an hour exit velocity, 860 expected batting average. Okay. Over 400 feet. Tank, right? Fly out to center field in Comerica. The third AB, he then gets a ball that's called fair on the field because chalk flies everywhere, right? That's usually how that works. They then review it, say that the physics caused the chalk to fly, but the force of the ball, the impact caused chalk to fly, and that it didn't actually hit the chalk, though. It hit next to the chalk. Okay, so he gets that taken back. Next pitch is a called strike on a ball that is a solid 4 or 5 inches inside and is not even close to a strike. Then he puts the ball in play to the right side, and the second baseman makes a diving play to get him out. It was one of the unluckiest performances I have ever seen, and I can laugh about it because he was clearly seeing the ball incredibly well. and so I feel okay laughing about it and being like, haha, bad luck. A, because we won, and B, because that is a sign of sustainable good baseball, and that's what he's been doing the entire season outside of the month of May. So just wanted to really run by and be like, wow, like what an unbelievably unlucky day at the office for Riley Greene. I think that's pretty much it on this ball game. As far as roster moves and such go, Javi Baez back from injury, played short tonight. Defense was really good, really, really good. He went 1 for 3 with a double down the line. Also had a very hard hit ball in his first AB as well. So not a bad day at the office. Did have a double play that really killed a lot of momentum. That wasn't great. Good defense. Like, look, I'm not expecting a different Javi. Like I know what Javi is. I think we all know what Javi is. It's an improvement over what has been and who has been playing shortstop. The grab bag of McKinstry Kreidler has not been good really whatsoever in Javi's absence. So I'm glad we're getting an improved, defense out there that was noticeable immediately, right? Like he made a really nice play in like the first inning or two. So that's great. It's a step up from, what we had out there, but that's more of a testament to what we had out there and not an, indictment of how like great Javi is or anything. I think, I don't know. I just saw people that were like, oh, like Javi's back. Like we're like, I don't know if we've been watching the same Javi, if this is the same fan base that, tries to say that we should cut him every 5 minutes. Like I was blown away by the reception. But I think that, again, that's more of a testament to just what the Tigers fans and front office has been watching at shortstop in his absence. So yeah, an improvement over what we've gotten is not necessarily good, but it is an improvement. So really glowing review there. I think, Parker Meadows to the IL. Oh, what an absolute gut punch. That's so sad. Akil Baddoo recalled, didn't go very far, right? Like it was just up before the weekend, sent down, sent right back up. We talked about this yesterday, that it was probably going to be Kreidler or Baez for Kreidler and then Baddoo for Meadows. Just really sucks. That's really all I have to say about it. Just sucks. I'm really sad about it. Heartbreaking, honestly. And apparently the quote is a few weeks. Hamstring injury, if I didn't say that, just kind of sucks. So hopefully he can be back. The good news is you have the All-Star break in there, so nobody plays for most of next week. And so that'll be, that's added into the IL time, right? So like maybe he won't miss as many games as we thought, but still just him getting hurt with how good he looked is really, really sucks. That like I said, that's a punch to the gut there. We're going to end the show with this. There was a couple of stats that were making the rounds on social media after the game. One from Chris Brown, where over at Motor City Metrics, who pointed out that the Tigers are 43-39 in games where they score a run, at like a single run or more, obviously. So if you just take out the shutouts, you're talking about a team that's over 500. And then Jim Costa over at 97.1, great dude, great at his job, by the way. Also pointed out that in two-run games, in games where the Tigers score 2 runs, rather, they are on a whopping 99 win pace. They are 41-26. Again, those stats from Chris Brown at Motor City Metrics and Jim Costa at 97.1. Just that is so frustrating, I think is the word, right? And you can go a few different angles here. You can talk like, what if they had brought in more offensive help in the offseason? I think that's a fair criticism that we've talked about a lot on this show. I also think it's fair to just be like, wow, what if Parker Meadows and Spencer Torkelson hit even close to what we expected them to? And then like Colt Keith the first month and a half of the season. I mean, there's a few guys in there, to be honest with you. If Javi's OPS didn't start with the number 4, right? Like, yes, you can point to the offseason. I'm not disagreeing with that. I agree with you. He should have done more in the offseason than have the biggest acquisition of the offseason be Mark Canha. But what if the guys we already had were just what we thought they were going to be? A little disheartening, to be honest. Like, the pitching has been so good. And I think that is a testament to them being close. But the offense is so bad. And I think it's fair to bring it up on a game like this where they win 1-0, and the one run is on a ball that the shortstop missed, a slow roller. That was an error. Frustrating, but we'll take 4 straight. Tigers play the Guardians again tonight. They play Ben Lively is going to be on the mound for Cleveland. Kenta Maeda for the Tigers. This is going to put that 2-run score to the test, that 2-run record to the test, because Kenta Maeda, you're probably going to need to score some runs to win with Kenta Maeda on the bump. Just has not had a very good season whatsoever. We'll see what this Cleveland team, that is a very good baseball team, does against him. Ben Lively is a soft tossing righty, big sinker ball guy, but also he has a few 4 or 5 even pitches in his arsenal. Guy that had a pretty solid season so far in 2024. And yeah, we'll see what he can do, but is definitely not going to blow you away with velocity, which is good for the Tigers, but also against guys that throw sinkers, they don't do very well either. They don't do well against much, to be honest, as a team offensively. But this is going to be a much, much different look than the 98-mile-an-hour heaters we were seeing in the 5th and 6th inning from Gavin Williams. So we'll see if the different style maybe leads to more success for your Tigers. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all then, baby. Go Tigers.